Remember that this November,
we're about to go into a dark winter. A dark winter.
In 2001, a real-world exercise tested the emergency response to a bioterror attack on the continental United States. The operation was called Dark Winter. Within just a few days, the simulation spiraled out of control. The operation predicted a rapid breakdown in essential institutions, civil disorder, and massive civilian casualties. Dark Winter has revealed how vulnerable we've become. Our lifestyle, our security, our safety depends on a delicate and unstable economy. We've created a system so complicated that we no longer understand how to control it. Oil, power, shipping, transport. We live in a complex world. And the more complex it gets, the more fragile it becomes. The system is built on a global supply chain that gets things where they're needed, just in time. We've created a house of cards. Remove just one, and everything falls apart. And what's fueling this system?
Money. Americans can spend $90 billion in a single day of shopping. Last year, 200 million people swarmed their local stores on November 23rd. We call that day Black Friday. Did you know that a flu virus can survive on the surface of a banknote for up to 17 days? One day there will be a pandemic. It could begin during the crush of Black Friday sales. A pathogen will jump from tainted banknotes to human skin, onto food, toys, children, and loved ones. By the time patient zero feels the first sore throat, millions of people will already be infected. From this point, the breakdown will happen fast.
Day 1, hospitals will reach capacity. Panic will strike. Day 2, quarantine zones will be established. Resources will be rationed. Transport will go into lockdown. Day 3, international trade will stop. The oil will dry up. The stock market will collapse. Day 4, the power will fail. The shelves will be empty. The taps will run dry. And once hunger and despair take hold, people will do anything for survival. By day 5, everyone will be a potential threat.
In 2007, a new presidential directive was signed quietly into law. This maps out the government's response to a crisis, a plan to cope with a real dark winter. It is known as Directive 51. There are rumors of shadow agencies, sleeper cells, covert agents, but nothing can be confirmed.
Our complex world is primed for breakdown.
And once the chaos strikes,
there won't be resources to save us all.
The only question left is, what will it take to save what remains?
I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everybody knows things are bad. It's a depression. Everybody's out of work or scared of losing their job. The dollar buys a nickel's worth. Banks are going bust. Shopkeepers keep a gun under the counter. Punks are running wild in the street, and there's nobody anywhere who seems to know what to do, and there's no end to it. We know the air is unfit to breathe, and our food is unfit to eat. We sit watching our TVs while some local newscaster tells us that today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy. It's like everything everywhere is going crazy, so we don't go out anymore. We sit in the house, and slowly the world we're living in is getting smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Let me have my toaster and my TV and my steel-belted radios, and I won't say anything. Just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
What's good, YouTube? It's RPU here, and I'm back again with another video. And guys, winter is coming. For some people, it's already here. The Federal Reserve is raising rates. The stock market is on edge. The housing market is coming down. Energy prices are through the roof, and supply chains are all screwed up. I don't have to tell you things are bad. Everyone knows that things are bad. But it's about to get a whole lot worse, because I just found out that 3.8 million renters will likely be evicted in the next 2 months. Guys, we're about to see something in America that we never thought would be possible. Like, this is unprecedented. Let's talk about it. 3.8 million renters will likely be evicted in the next 2 months. Why the rental crisis keeps getting worse. This is from the Census Bureau via yahoo.com, and this just came out a week ago. For the first time ever, the median rent in the U.S. topped $2,000 a month in June, and the increases show no sign of stopping. $2,000 a month, man, that's crazy. Right now, I've been building my credit, and I stay in a studio apartment right now, and I've been looking around to see what's out there. If you go on apartments.com, there's literally nothing available. It's crazy. And like, if you were trying to get a 2-bedroom apartment right now, it's almost impossible to find a 2-bedroom apartment under $1,500 right now. It's crazy, because in like 2013, 2014, me and my cousin had rented a 2-bedroom apartment for like $700 a month. This is crazy. Like, inflation is off the charts. $2,000 a month? Who can afford that? On top of everything else, gas, bills, food, energy, emergency. This is crazy. This is crazy. And inflation is out of control, and wages are not keeping up with inflation. This is crazy. Those rising rents mean that households representing a total of 8.5 million people were behind on their rent at the end of August, according to Census Bureau figures. And 3.8 million of those renters say they're somewhat or very likely to be evicted in the next 2 months. Wow, that's crazy. So many people. 3.8 million renters, right? And let's say each one of those renters has maybe 1 or 2 people living with them in the home, right? Maybe a kid or a spouse. That's potentially 7.5 to 10 million people homeless. That's crazy. The combination of soaring inflation, the end of most eviction moratoriums, and rental assistance payments, and an extremely low vacancy rate has pushed rents up and many renters out. Man, this is crazy. Like, if you go on apartments.com, I've been building my credit up, right, for 3 years. And I'm just under 700. I'm like at a 690, right? Got a couple credit cards, all that good stuff. And, eventually I'm going to want to level up, from my studio apartment to maybe a 1 or 2 bedroom, But if you go on apartments.com, there's barely anything available in the city. Like, all the listings, almost all the listings say not available. It's crazy. Nobody's moving and prices are going up, but it's like, how long can people maintain like that, with rents constantly going up? Like, I think they passed a law where they could raise the rent 10% every year in California, and some people have had their rents raised like 50%, 100%. It's crazy out here. It's crazy. And then you have a influx of people, coming into the country, which is putting more pressure on the supply of homes, because you already have limited supply, and then you have more people competing for these homes, raising the rents, and supply is not keeping up with the demand. It's crazy, And when it comes to building homes, low-income properties, right? There's so much red tape that you have to go through as a builder in California, right? And a lot of these homeowners don't want low-income properties built next to their homes because of the stigmas and the stereotypes that come with it, and crime that could potentially lower their property value. And so we have a serious housing crisis. Supply is not keeping up with demand, and wages are not keeping up with inflation. The combination of soaring inflation, the end of most eviction moratoriums, and rental assistance payments, and an extremely low vacancy rate has pushed rents up and many renters out. Yeah, it's like, how long can people sustain like that? If your wages are not increasing, but rents are constantly going up, how long can you maintain like that? You have, people living on their credit cards, just to make ends meet, taking out payday loans with very high interest. It's like people are putting themselves into a hole just to make it day to day. It's really bad out here, and it's gonna get worse. It's really real out here for some people. Rents up nearly 25% since before the pandemic. Since 2006, rents have risen faster than home prices, but at the same time, the shortage of available rental units has been steadily increasing since the Great Recession, really. Yeah, the shortage. I thought it said that the number of units was increasing. No, the shortage has been increasing. Because they're not building homes fast enough. And you have people people want to move out of their homes. Then you have more people coming into the country competing for the limited supply that is already available. What can somebody do about this? This is horrible. This is a nightmare. They talk about the American dream. Nah, man, this is an American nightmare. In the year before the pandemic, the country recorded a shortage of 7 million affordable housing units for low-income renters, according to the Center for American Progress, creating a crisis that left just 37 affordable rental homes for every 100 low-income households looking to rent. Let me tell you guys something. There have been a lot of new homes built in my area. Some even in the hood, like brand new homes, right? These homes are going for like 300, 400,000 in the hood though. It's crazy. It's crazy. Built right next to a freeway, and they're going for 400,000. And with all those homes, all that land, they could have built a giant, apartment complex or multiple apartment complexes that could have alleviated some of the housing crisis. But instead, they decided to build these giant single-family homes that nobody can afford. It doesn't make sense. And the homes that are available are often still out of reach. Rent rates are up nearly 25% since before the pandemic, with an increase of 15% in just the past 12 months, according to the real estate tracking service Zillow. Evictions are up too, according to the eviction lab at Princeton University. In August, evictions were 52% above average in Tampa, 90 90% above average in Houston, and 94% above average in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Wow, 90% above average. That's crazy. While the federal government has distributed the bulk of pandemic-related rental assistance grants, some states and cities have been slow to make the money available to landlords on behalf of tenants who can't pay their rent. There are some landlords who don't want to even accept that rental assistance because they just want to get these people out of their homes, because some of these people haven't been paying rent this entire time due to the sickness that's been going around. You know, when it first happened, California told everybody to stay in their homes, shut down their businesses, don't go to work, you know, and a lot of people were getting unemployment, stimulus checks, PPP loans. Some people were living high on the hog, and now that money is starting to run out. You know, I couldn't get none of that money. I got a couple stimulus checks, but they wasn't letting me get none of that PPP money. I'm glad I didn't get it, because now they're coming after everybody who was getting them loans fraudulently. But the entire system is all messed up, man. The worst thing that has ever happened to this country was shutting down the economy. Like, that was the worst thing that has ever happened. Because, like, we shut it down, and now, like, the whole thing is just falling apart, you know? And, you know, renters are being kicked out. Landlords are about to lose their property. It's just bad all the way around. It really is, you know? But one thing I also want to point out is, you know, California has been slow to give people their rental assistance. I seen a news report on this about people in the Bay Area, right, who are about to get kicked out. They still waiting. It's never coming, guys. It's bad, right? But California can also, you know, give free healthcare to illegal immigrants. That's crazy. Like, why do I have to pay for health insurance then? But that's a whole nother story. Now, as of May, the National Low Income Housing Coalition reported that 12 states and the District of Columbia had distributed half of their last assistance allocation, while Idaho, Iowa, and Ohio hadn't spent any of that money. 2 states, Nebraska and Arkansas, refused to accept the federal rent assistance money. See, they don't even want to give it to you guys. It's crazy. Nearly half of renters have seen rent hikes. The annual median household income for all renters in the U.S. is about $42,500, according to Zillow. 37% lower than the national median income of $67,500. Ooh, I wish I was making $67,000. I would be comfortable right now. As of early August, the Census Bureau reported that while 56% of renters had household incomes of less than $50,000, 24% of renters surveyed were paying more than $2,000 a month in rent. Wow, that's crazy. So, like, most of their money, if not most, like a major chunk of their income is going to rent. $2,000 a month just going to rent. That's not including electricity, phone bill, food, gasoline. Like, how are people maintaining, man? If it wasn't for credit, most people probably wouldn't even make it. Nearly half of all renters, more than 30 million people, have been hit with rent hikes in the past 12 months. with 19% paying a monthly increase of $100 to $250, 7% paying $250 to $500 more, and 4% needing to find another $500 a month to stay in their apartments. Yeah, man, and it's hitting elderly people the hardest, man. People that live on a fixed income having their rents jacked up like hundreds of dollars, you know? And these people have nowhere to go. It's gonna be ugly out here. To meet higher rents, 57% of renters said they relied on credit cards, loans, savings, or selling off some assets, including raiding their retirement accounts. Wow, that's crazy. People are losing everything and they're going into debt. Despite that, 14% of renters told the survey that they weren't completely caught back up on back rent. Rising rents hurting some more than others. Rising rents are hitting minorities harder than others, according to a Pew Research Center analysis of census data. Among households headed by black adults, 58% are renters, while 52% of those headed by Latino adults rented. That compares to a rental rate of slightly less than 40% of Asian-led households and 25% for households led by non-Hispanic white adults. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that there are more black renters than any other group? I don't know. While inflation gets the blame for much of the problem with high rents, the cure for high inflation also may be contributing to the tight rental market, as renters who wanted to become homeowners are increasingly being priced out of the housing market. Yeah, man. These rents are increasing so much, it's like, damn, I might as well have a mortgage, because these rent prices are mortgage prices. It doesn't make sense. As the Federal Reserve has increased interest rates to cool off the economy and bring down inflation, that move has pushed U.S. mortgage rates up from less than 3% a year ago to 5.3% by mid-August. So that means what? That means I gotta put 5% down now? I mean, a lot of people don't have 5% to put down on a house, you know? They just said that people are eating up their savings, selling off assets, living off of credit cards and loans. Most people don't have 5.13% to put down, forcing them to rent, which is causing rent prices to go up. The combination of higher home loan rates and already high home prices has resulted in an 18% drop in mortgage applications from August 2021 to a 22-year low. So you would think that, you know, as housing prices start to fall, rents would start to fall with them, right? Because, you know, if this was a, what do they call it? Is it a free market economy? You know, let the free market do its thing, then housing prices would fall. You know, you would think that rents would fall too. But no. You know, BlackRock is just waiting in the cut, just waiting to buy everything up. Because what is the overall end goal? You will own nothing and you will be happy. Say it with me, kids. You will own nothing and you will be happy. Now, I wanted to know, like, in America, I asked Google, I said, how many homeless people are there in the United States? Google says that the number of homeless in the United States is estimated to be 552,830, right? Now, 3.8 million people will likely be evicted in the next 2 months. I mean, some of these people may be able to go live with family members, you know. Some will be on the streets. But all these people will have evictions on their records, which means, you know, it's going to be very hard for them to find any type of housing, especially in this fierce environment, you know, this fierce housing market. It's going to be hard for these people, you know? And so I think we're about to see the homeless population do a 3-4x. If you thought that homelessness was bad now, we haven't seen anything. We haven't seen anything. Like, there's not enough sidewalk as it is for all these people's tents, you know? Where are these people gonna go? You know? It's gonna be really bad out here. So let me know what you think about all this. Going into the midterm elections 2023, we're gonna see maximum chaos. I don't know, man. These are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think about this. Like, subscribe, share this video. I appreciate you guys. This is RPU, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.
The problem is the monopoly game, which is controlled by the Federal Reserve, the private bank, which is actually controlled out of London, is manipulating all the dollars to put them out, put more and more people into debt. So the illusion of equity they have in real estate is coming apart. The players that are analyzing everything are expecting massive foreclosures next year and the beginning of what we call the recession it's going to be worse than 29. Take your house that you're living in. You think you own it. You don't.
Right.
You have contractual right to transfer the airspace, subject to you paying taxes to the state.
Right.
And 40% of the world, 2 billion of us, exist on less than $2 a day. The summary of the Global 2000 report I put up on my website, nohoax.com. But if you look at it, it makes sense to get rid of people. So what they said, they're going to make godlike decisions on who lives and who dies. Now, obviously, some of the meetings we sat on, we were planning on using neutron bombs on the major cities because that contains most of what they call...
You actually heard this?
I sat in on the meetings. I was in the game big time. In fact, I was making such a mess, they decided rather than kill me, which they could, they just invited me into the inner group and asked me to be the finance chairman. And at that point, I probably would have been in, Secretary of the Treasury or something, whatever they wanted to do with me. What I was doing prior to that, so, making it right, I would volunteer to become a president of a company, and I'd go in and liquidate it. And we get rid of the expendable containers. That was my job.
Expendable containers meaning human beings?
That's right.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's
well,
really
that was
inside vernacular, wasn't it? Yeah.
Oh, well, that's what we used at that time. I mean, it went from there to useless eaters today, so you're happy with it, you're a human resource. So,
right.
Which, all you are is part of the commodity, even in the business sense. You look at it, you have a cost. Labor, what is labor?
Yeah.
Human resource.
Right.
When you're going to put together some kind of product. Well, the inside of the game, when we started to use neutron bombs, today they figure that biologicals are much cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
They're still planning on, the plan is to get a war started in the Middle East. And they're still planning on using a neutron bomb, or one of the bombs that they've got developed on Israel. Mm-hmm. And that's to begin World War III, mm-hmm. which is all in the cards. And it's going to happen. They even put a monument up for this whole program. It's mm-hmm. called the Georgia Guidestones. Mm-hmm. Outside of Atlanta,
right.
And they've got it all set down there. It's all in 8 languages. Basically, it's fait accompli as far as they're concerned. It's just to get the thing going in the Middle East, and it's not going fast enough. I mean, Carter put this thing in, so we have the Plan 2000, with the war starting in the year 2000 in the Middle East.
Right.
Reduce the population of the planet down to 500 million, have one world currency under the Homeland Security, or FEMA if you want to call it. They're going to declare an emergency, which are going to shut down everything. My friends, my CIA associates, I don't even call them friends anymore. CIA is crooks in action.
Yeah.
They're all professional liars.
Yeah.
I mean, they got to be if they have that job.
Yeah.
So you have to look at what they're doing. Anyway, they're so concerned they're leaving the country too. Most of them are going to Latin America. Meanwhile, they're closing in every day right now, just closing in to make it so we're going to be set up in these enemy prisoner war camps. I published a book. It's called Chaos in America. Mm-hmm. In it, I was asked to build an enemy prisoner war camp. I put the contract in this book. So you can read it for yourself. This is in downtown Las Vegas, right on the railroad tracks. It says enemy prisoner war camp. They're all on top. And they're building them all the way across the United States right now. Bush signed an executive order taking the old forts and the army places that we shut down to get those organized to hold the so-called dissidents. Now, what's the definition of a dissident? And the problem is that we're going to enslave ourselves because most of the people want to keep having food coming in, and you're going to follow the line. You're just walking yourself into your own prison camp. Then we're going to come down to the extermination, just like World War II. Well, Phil and I have lectured together. I know Phil Snyder. He's dead now.
Yeah, I know he's dead. And so what about what he was saying about the number of bases at that time? I think it was 129 bases before he died. Underground had already been built. Is that all for the elite?
Yeah.
Really?
What are they going to do with the rest of the people? They just get rid of them, leave them above ground and be radiated. Now, my son happens to be a nuclear physicist. Mm-hmm. Spent the last 3.5 years in a secret city in Russia. They're about 12 years ahead of us. They have 22,000 nuclear warheads. And, of course, we're the target. The Soviets have 3 nuclear submarines on the west coast and 3 on the east coast. They're about 2 football fields in length, 5 stories tall, and they all are nuclear powered and aimed at our major cities.
Okay.
West Coast gone. Well, because the plan is the northern hemisphere is where they're going to release the nuclear bombs, and the theory was that the winds from the North Pole that are coming down, because that's increasing drastically, will go to the equator, and there will be very little spillover because of the reverse of the winds, because of the southern hemisphere.
Okay.
So therefore, the nuclear radiation here will be a lot more than the southern hemisphere.
And this is a fait accompli, you believe?
Oh, they think so. Oh, yeah, they think they've won. That's the reason why they don't bother about me talking about it. They don't care whether you know or not. What are you going to do about it? And you have no idea what China is until you go over there for yourself. With 1,300,000,000. You understand? Almost, well, a little over 4 times our population.
Right.
It's, I spent some time over there and I had some government friends. They think what they're going to do is let the West go have its fight. And then they want to clean up. They say it's been 5,000 years. We want to run the world when we get through. And what they're doing? Acquiring all the assets. They figure that Canada and the United States, the property there will, the food growing areas will be enough to take care of their people. And that's what they're looking at. Why are they? I mean, they bought
so
oil.
the U.S. will become a resource. Yeah.
Whatever's left of it.
Whatever's left of it. Yeah. You seem to be in a unique position to be able to put a fair amount of this together, which is quite interesting.
Well, I walk my talk. I played the game.
You played the game. You know one level of it.
And I know. I used to play around with the world leaders, so I know what they're planning on doing.
What change of heart? What happened in you that made you decide to share this information that happens at the inside levels?
Well, it come back to a moral situation that happened to me, I think. When I flew to Aspen. I brought my 2 daughters up there so they could go skiing. And when I was invited to this meeting. When I walked into the room, the world leaders were there. And that's when they asked me to be the finance chairman. As they said, we'd like you to be the finance chairman for the next president of the United States. And the first thing I asked is, why me? And they said, well, we owe you a favor. Remember I told you I volunteered to be president of companies as I went down.
And then you liquidate, yeah.
I didn't charge them anything for it. It was just a game.
I see.
And anyway, that's what they said.
So I thought you'd be good on the team, yeah.
Yeah, I'd be a team player. I just did it because it was, another one of these things. So next thing I asked them, I said, well, wait a minute. I just started this $100 million project. And they said, don't worry about it. We'll put it on ice. And I said, okay, who with? And I said, well, you can do that. Then I said the next thing was, who is going to be the next president? Now, this is 2 years before he became president.
Right.
They said Jimmy Carter. And I said, Jimmy who? And they said, well, he's the Democratic governor of Georgia. And I said, I've been voting Republican. And Paul Volcker said, son, don't worry about it. We control them both.
Yeah.
And I said, well, I got the next question is, what does a finance chairman do?
Yeah.
I haven't been doing that. I've been playing all this other stuff. They said, will you sit down with Ted And so I sat over with Ted Kennedy. He's sitting right next to me. And Ted and I are, he's just joking. He says, George, you're going to love this job. You're really good with money. We're going to send you out to all the state Democratic functions to raise money for the National Democratic Party. And he said, you're going to meet some real foxy ladies. And just then, my daughter walked in. Ted looked at her and he says, wow, I want to go to bed with that. I says, no, you don't, Ted. That's my daughter, and she's 14. And his response to me was, I don't care. I was livid. I really didn't know what to do.
So it was that moment
Well,
of
wait
that
a minute.
personal insult.
That was part of it.
Yeah.
I got up and I walked across the room.
Yeah.
I then talked to Pierre Trudeau and his wife, who was the Prime Minister of Canada at that time. And I'm sitting in front of them was a little half cigar box full of white powder. And then I'm looking around the rest of the room. I said, my God, something hit me at that point. If the world leaders have to resort to this, I don't think I want to be part of this thing. I mean, even to the
Pretty dark.
even to the pollution and getting everything else they're talking about, getting rid of all the other people. I mean, I was left. And then I found out a little bit more about the details of the plan